Live from historic Moore Gymnasium on the campus of Bethune-Cookman University, this Cat Eye Network broadcast of Bethune-Cookman University Volleyball is on the air. Hello and a very warm welcome. My name is Michael Turillo. Happy to have your company for the second of 3 Wildcat Volleyball home games over the next 2 days as part of the season opening Bash at the Beach tournament as Bethune-Cookman welcomes the volleyball teams from Marshall and the Citadel. Last season, BCU volleyball turned around a rough start to the season and ended on a high. After not winning a match until October, the Wildcats tore through SWAC conference play, winning 9 of their final 15 matches and making a run to the semifinals of the conference tournament before falling to eventual winners Florida A&M. The Cats returned most of the roster that made that late run, with the only notable absences being losing team leader in blocks Aaliyah Dallas to graduation and team leader in digs Adriana Marrero to the transfer portal. But key names like kills leader Jasmine Moore, second leading blocker Katel Price, and triple-digit dig getters Alicia Callender, Madison Coates, and Mecca Freeman remain, with Callender being the only Wildcat selected to the preseason All-SWAC team. There are new faces to look out for as well, like freshman Chloe Conover and Mia Delahousse, as well as graduate student Essence Bell, who transferred to BCU after 3 seasons in the MEAC at Howard. I spoke to head coach Brittany Williams before both of today's games to get her thoughts on the team headed into the season as she begins year 8 in charge of the Wildcats. I'm here with Bethune-Cookman head coach Brittany Williams before the Wildcats play their first game of the regular season against the Marshall Thundering Herd. Very quickly, Coach, we just saw Marshall play their first game against the Citadel. What did you see from them that's going to make them a tricky opponent today?
They're a very dynamic team. They have hitters on both pins as well as some really solid middles, and they're good defensively. And so I think it's going to be a great matchup between us two.
Last week we had the maroon and gold scrimmage. What did you see out of your team, and how do you think they're ready for the season?
Well, it was definitely exciting to see talent on both sides of the court. I think it was evenly split, and so that gave us a lot of promise looking to when we put everything together. And so we're super excited. We saw some great things from all of our pins, especially number 13, freshman Chloe Conover. Definitely stepped up and really did some things that we hadn't seen her do in practice, and so I think she's finally coming to her own out there.
Last season, you all finished the season very strong, winning 9 of your last 14 games, making a run to the conference semifinals. You returned most of the team from last year. What do your new pieces look like, and how are they going to help you get over that hump to go win a conference championship?
So we definitely lost a big presence in the middle with Aaliyah Dallas, our leading blocker, but we replaced it with a great transfer, Alyssa King from UTEP. She was a mid-year transfer for us, and so she's been in our gym all spring, and so we're super excited about her. We think she's going to do a good job filling those shoes. And then we just brought a lot of firepower on the pins. We brought in 3 pin hitters, one at 6'3", so that adds another 6'3" outside to our arsenal. And then we just rounded out our defense and our serve receive. We got a transfer libero from Howard, who's won a championship there, Florida kid who came back home in Essence Bell. And then we also added Sydney Poston. She's a kid, she'll run through a wall for you, and so we're super excited about what our defense is going to look like.
Of your returning players, who do you think is going to step up off the bench and give you the most minutes this year?
I definitely feel like Niara Hightower, she was in and out last year in the middle for us, but she's really become a force, as well as Katel Price also in the middle for us. And then Riley Davis has really stepped up for us defensively.
This is year 8 for you, Coach, at the head of the Bethune-Cookman Wildcats. Where do you see this program headed in the long term?
I think in the long run, we're going to be contenders for a championship in the SWAC.
Thank you, Coach. Good luck today.
Thank you so much.
Obviously, that interview was taken before Game 1. BCU lost 3-0 to Marshall. A chance for redemption here this evening as we welcome in Taylor Pritchett, former Division I coach and player at the volleyball level. Taylor, what did you see from the Wildcats in the first game against Marshall, and what can they improve for tonight?
Yeah, so a lot of what they can improve is in their hands, which is the best place to be, right? There was a quick lead that they jumped out to, and that was when they were playing their cleanest volleyball. Their first contact, their serve and their pass was attacking Marshall. They were handling the contacts from Marshall very well and making sure that their setter had a lot of options, and at that point they were able to run away with it. Then they started to kind of show themselves as a team that hasn't played together a whole lot. About a third of their team is new this year, 6 out of their 16 players, so they're going to be able to really make sure that they gel well if they can, start to pull together and work towards the goal this game.
This is going to be a different challenge, the Citadel team. Marshall, taller, more power, This Citadel team going to get a little bit shorter. They only have 3 players that are over 6 feet tall. They're going to hit you with a little bit more finesse on the attack. What adjustments have to be made defensively for this game?
You just got to make sure that you're playing clean. If you're playing against a smaller athlete, they're usually going to play with a little bit bigger range rather than trying to get up and just bang the ball. They're going to use their shots. They're going to use the entire length and width of the court. So you've got to be ready to kind of get on your horse and go and make sure that you're eating up, especially anything that goes into the hands and then high into your court. BCU has a fantastic block. So they're going to be touching a lot of stuff. They're going to send it high to your own side. You've got to be ready to get up and run those things down rather than digging in and expecting the hard hit.
In the first game, we saw the BCU setters, specifically Madison Coates, sometimes struggle with balls up into the ceiling or sometimes struggle with some interesting passes coming from the back line. How do you clean that up against the team that maybe is going to hit you a little bit slower?
That's something that your first contact just needs to make sure that they're staying engaged with the play the whole time. If the ball's coming at you super fast, you're basically putting a platform and putting an angle in front of it and hoping that, it's going in the right direction and letting the ball hit you. When the ball starts to come a little bit slower to you, you have to give it some more, so you've got to prepare that angle in such a way that as you're giving energy into the ball, your angle is still staying the same, and that's where I think they're going to be able to make that adjustment now that this ball isn't necessarily getting, just spiked at them, but they're actually having to play with a little bit more range.
Another ruffle that this Citadel team can bring to you is in the middle. Belle Hogan, both the highest hitting percentage on the team last year and the most assists, one shy of 1,000 a season ago, and already up to 41 assists in game 1 of this season.
So, Belle Hogan is an incredibly offensive setter. She's going to go up on the second ball and try to find her opportunities to make herself seen and make herself felt. A lot of times, setters will kind of reserve themselves as a last resort if there's a tight ball, or maybe they'll, throw one over on back in if they think that the play has gone on for a little too long. But for her to have 15 attempts in 3 sets in the first match, it shows that she is an extremely offensive setter. And to be, she had almost a 50% kill percentage. She hit 400. She's very, very effective at it as well. So you're going to see her take a lot of attempts for herself and then dish it out to her hitters for the rest of the balls.
We are just about set to go here. Second match of the day for both of these teams. Citadel won 3-0 against Marshall at 10 a.m. this morning. BCU fell to Marshall 3-0 in the middle game of the day. Citadel in the light blue tops with dark blue shoulders, dark blue pants. Libero in dark blue. Bethune-Cookman all black, gold numbers. Gold libero strip worn by Essence Bell. Looks like Bethune-Cookman may be starting with the serve again like they did in the last game.
And you're going to see the libero come in and out kind of at will. They're the only player on the court that doesn't have to follow the substitution rules, the regular substitution rules. They don't count against the 12 subs that you have as a team throughout the set, but they are only allowed to play in the back row.
Madison Coates gets us underway here, game 2 of the Bash at the Beach for Bethune-Cookman. They will have the first attack. Belle Hogan on the spot to make the dig. Already a 3-possession rally, and it's going to be a 4th one. A little bit of an awkward set. High off the hands and down, and the first kill belongs to Allie Ruffin. That is a name we are going to hear a lot of this evening.
Absolutely. She gets a whole lot of volume, and she is that player that's going to put a low, deep ball in. And like it did there, it's going to hit the blocker's hands a lot. So those defenders have to be ready to run that ball down.
Ruffin, the team leader in kills for the Citadel a season ago, pushed right back over, setter to setter. Madison Coates digs that out, and unfortunately crosses over the center line under the net. So that'll be a Citadel point, 2-0 early for the Bulldogs. This is freshman Angelina Sales serving for the Citadel. Off the block and out of bounds. BCU on the board via Jasmine Moore. We were talking a little bit in the pregame about Jasmine Moore and about her power and how she can bring it to bear effectively in those outside hitter situations.
Absolutely. Jasmine has a really big arm. It's something that she's always really been able to hang her hat on, and it's also why she has that jump topspin serve from the back. She has the arm to be able to put that all the way over and get it in quickly.
There's the first block of the game, and who else? Nyara Hightower, who we expect to be the team leader in blocks this season, gets that solo there to even up the score at 2. Hightower, the junior from Wichita Falls, Texas, sat mostly behind Aaliyah Dallas last year, but this year expected to take that starting role in the middle. Tough service recovery, and it goes all the way up into the ribbing on the ceiling and down into no man's land for a BCU point.
And that's going to be an interesting adjustment for the Citadel to make this match. They play in a big stadium. They play in the basketball stadium, so they're used to an incredibly high roof. They're going to have to make some adjustments for this here.
Serve is a little bit long from Jasmine Moore. Another thing about Allie Ruffin is she's their top kill getter at 437 a season ago. She's also their top service ace getter at 38 aces to only 19 errors. This is Mia Watson serving now, the freshman from Jacksonville, as she drives it into the net, the Mandarin High School product. Mandarin, a couple of state titles in volleyball in the last 10 years, although I think none in the last 5, so I'm not sure if she was a part of any of those teams. Hogan sets it, and another block, this time by Mecca Freeman, gives the Wildcats a 2-point lead.
And we talked about how Hogan is going to be an incredibly offensive setter. BCU knows this, but they also know that right now she's in the back row. So she cannot attack the ball above the height of the net if she's in front of the 10-foot line. That's why on that ball, even though she jumped, the ball was tight, all of her blockers went away from her because they knew that she can't actually be a threat. They need to go and block the 3 hitters that are front row.
Hightower with the serve. Sales digs it out. Tapped at the net. It does roll across the tape and down on BCU's side. This is going to be a back row hit from Moore. Hogan sets it up. Coates keeps it alive. And Hogan sets it again. Ruffin down the line and out. Was there a touch? No. BCU wins the point.
It looked like that was going to be a back row attack. So the libero, if they use their hands in front of the 10-foot line, the hitter that hits that ball has to act like they're a back row attacker. They cannot contact the ball above the height of the net in front of the 10-foot line.
Soft serve into the middle. Here's Ruffin. Taps it low. And the ball comes straight back to Ruffin, who hits it long and out of play. This is a very similar start to this match as we saw in the first match of the day, with BCU jumping out to an early lead in the first set. Unfortunately, they did let that lead slip away and ended up falling in overtime in set number 1, 26-24. Off the block and out, A.J. Simmons couldn't corral that one. And you can immediately feel the pressure. Every time number 18 runs up to take a swing at the ball, you can sense that the defense is just thinking, oh boy, here we go. That time it's just a serve. Blocked straight back down. Belle Hogan can get up there and block too at only 5'11". Does have 40 blocks a season ago.
And while Allie Ruffin has a fantastic arm, what the Wildcats can remember is that they have those in their gym as well. Jasmine Moore and Mia Delahousse are fantastic arms over on the outside. So they're used to seeing that fast ball, that powerful ball come at them. They just need to remember that it's something that they're used to, and they can handle this one as well.
Awkward first contact, but the Citadel deals with it. Coates back set, blocked. The Wildcats keep it alive, go to the other side. A second block. Coates gets a third chance to set it up. And a fourth block. And this time it's a net infraction for BCU, point Citadel.
That one gets tough. Those hitters are working to take their approach and then get off the net, take their approach and get off the net. The longer that play goes, especially when it only stays on the Wildcat side, the more tired those hitters are going to get.
A third consecutive serve here for Ruffin. Off the hands, recovered in the back from Sales. And a beautifully placed ball, pinpoint accuracy for Gina Delancey, the team leader in blocks a year ago. Grew up not far from where I went to school in Arlington, Virginia, to Delancey. Coates. Freeman tries the finesse approach this time. Ruffin from the back row. Set by Bell. Once again, defended well. At the net, the joust is won by the Wildcats.
And so here you're going to see Madison Coates coming off of the floor and Janlene DeJesus coming on. Madison Coates and Chloe Conover coming off the floor. Janlene DeJesus and Melina Spencer coming on. This is the Wildcats running a 6-2. So Janlene DeJesus is a second setter. They're always going to have a setter in the back row. They use their substitutions to do that so that they always have 3 hitters in the front row, and that'll give them much more opportunity to use their firepower.
Bell has to tamely place this over. In-system play for the Citadel. Dug out by DeJesus. Cross it goes to Freeman. Ruffin keeps the play alive, and then it's closed out on the far side by the Citadel. Mackenzie Martin gets the kill that time and immediately goes back to serve. She's probably the most interesting story on this Citadel team is Martin. Originally from Port Orange, right here in town, played at Spruce Creek High School. Quick set to the middle, and lookout official as he got caught on the leg there by that powerful kill. BCU back on the board, but back on Mackenzie Martin. She played her first 3 collegiate seasons at Tulane and set the Tulane record at single season highs in kills and digs, and is the first graduate transfer in Citadel volleyball history. To the net. Kept alive, Poston on the back row. Cross court it goes. Blocked. A second chance to tip it over for Spencer. And there's that aggressive set play from Belle Hogan for a point to tie the game at 9.
Yep. And that was a good job. She saw that A.J. Simmons was already dipping out to go and try to block her outside and took advantage of the opportunity to just drop one over on 2.
And she's really smart about when she decides to employ that little drop shot. She knows to watch the defense and kind of read how they're going to play her. This one's a little awkward in the middle for DeJesus. Back row set, goes off the ceiling and down for a BCU point. Sometimes you'd rather be lucky than good.
Thank you to the 7th Wildcat player.
More gymnasium a part of every BCU volleyball lineup this season, at least when they're playing at home. Essence Bell off the tape, but a good serve. Hogan, and perfectly placed in the corner from Angelina Sales, a freshman from Henderson, Nevada, really impressed me in the first game today. Sales 7 kills on 17 attacks. That's a .235 percentage. Hogan serving. Back row for Martin. And across Ruffin. Tipped to the net, kept alive by BCU. Whistle and a stoppage of play. Not sure what the call was there.
Oh, it looks like somebody's... So the Wildcat players wear a thing called a vert, which is actually a jump counter so that they can keep track of, how high and how often they're jumping. And it looks like one of their belts that hold it on fell off mid-play, so they're going to have to restart the play.
10-10 here in the opening set. Citadel and Bethune-Cookman. Game 2 of the young season for both of these squads. Hogan serves it. Off the block. At the net. Cross it goes. Had to tip it over. Did more. DeJesus got a hand to it, but he could only push it out into the seats. And it's a first Citadel lead of the contest.
And that's what we call high pointing the ball from the middle. They got up and rather than actually taking a swing, just took their hand from high to low and pushed that power tip down. DeJesus to set, Drop shot into the middle from Alina Spencer. She did not play in the first game today, dealing with a little bit of an injury coming into the season. She is playing in this second match.
The Wildcats are also without top players Alicia Callender and Keital Price. And that drop shot, Taylor, is probably the most effective offensive weapon the Wildcats had in Game 1.
Absolutely. They made sure that they were keeping themselves in play and making Marshall make a play. Woo, that was a block.
An incredible block. It's Nyara Hightower again, assisted by the freshman Chloe Conover.
And that is going to be a nightmare for Allie Ruffin if they can get those two rotations to match up. Chloe and Nyara are very long, very big athletes. And while Allie Ruffin has a really good arm, she is not the most dynamic player. She's not up super high. So if Conover and Hightower can be in front of her with big, solid hands, they can try to give her a bad night.
Power through the middle for the Citadel to tie it up at 12. This is Sales again to serve. She's got that high throwing action, and it's out of play. You see a lot of different service styles. You see that big run-up with the big throw. You see some players like Nyara Hightower just stand and toss it and hit it.
Absolutely.
What are the differences between those kind of service styles, and why would you employ one over the other?
So you want to have, from a team perspective, you want to have a mix of them because all of them look different coming off of the hand. All of them look different to the passer. And so the more different looks you can give them, the more difficult you make their job. It's harder to get in a rhythm, right? The jump topspin serve that Jasmine Moore has is going to have a lot more pace than anything else because you can put the topspin on it and that'll pull it down into the court. A standing float serve like Nyara Hightower is going to move in the air. Sometimes you'll see it wave side to side before it gets to the passer. And then a jump float serve is kind of a combination of the both. You can put a little bit more pace on it because you have momentum coming into it, but you still get that float serve that moves in the air and makes it very, very difficult to pass.
That time Sales got the kill down the line. Watson back in to serve for the Citadel. Watson, a 3-time AVCA Phenom watch list member during her high school career. That time the pass goes over the net. Free hit for the Citadel. Tie game again at 14. It seems like neither one of these teams can really break away here early on.
Yep, and it's interesting because it's a bunch of small strings. It's not really back and forth point for point, but it's 3 points here, 3 points there, 3 points here, 3 points there. It's good that nobody's really pulling away, but that's what they're going for. They want to take that 3-point run and continue it in their direction.
Finesse shot for Gina Delancey to give the Bulldogs the lead again. Delancey in her 5th season at the Citadel in her graduate student year. Bell receives. And into the net. Off the dig from Mia Watson, and the Wildcats once again tie it up immediately.
And there, you saw that Allie Ruffin didn't even have a chance to play it out of the net. That's because the ball hit the net outside of the antennas. If it does that, if it hits the pole, if it hits the net outside the antennas, it is automatically out.
Here's that standing serve from Hightower that we talked about. Hogan the set. Through the middle, Mackenzie Martin notches it.
And that kind of a combination play does a really good job of tricking the blockers. Mackenzie Martin is their outside hitter. She's usually going to be hitting all the way out on the left pin, but she came around and took that swing out of the middle, and that's something that the blockers really have to talk about in order to defend well.
And a response in kind. Powerful shot from Mecca Freeman. Mecca was kind of kept quiet in the first game against Marshall. She usually is the second top scorer for this Bethune-Cookman team and probably will be all season long behind Jasmine Moore. We still have not seen Mia Delahousse, who is again out with a little bit of an injury today, but she is 6'3", an outside hitter freshman from West Covina, California. Look forward to watching her this season. Tipped into the net. Spencer got the block. Ruffin has to push it over. Bell recovers. DeJesus back to Spencer, and that's a wild hit that lands in the Citadel bench. And that time the blockers for Bethune-Cookman read the soft shot. Could not apply the finishing touch on the other end. Martin with the serve. DeJesus, quick set to the middle. Hogan to Ruffin from the back row. Pinpoint accuracy. And Ruffin does a great job of getting up and curling her hands over the ball to get that downward trajectory on her attacks. DeJesus back to Freeman, blocked and down by Sales. Largest lead of the first set for the Citadel, 19-16. Timeout, Bethune-Cookman. Bethune-Cookman volleyball and the 2023 Bash of the Beach rolls on this weekend as the Wildcats are set to face the Marshall Thundering Herd once again tomorrow at noon as the Wildcats wrap up their first weekend of the year. Come on out and support your Wildcats at Moore Gymnasium or watch live on the Cat Eye Network. Pretty even game so far. Wildcats just on the losing end of some of these net exchanges. What do you see that the Wildcats are doing well early on?
They're doing a great job of making sure that they kind of continue looking forward and continue moving forward. You see them getting a little bit tight to the net. They're passing and setting a little tight to the net, and so it's bringing the Citadel block or the Citadel attack into play. You want to start to pull that off. Kind of ideally, you're hoping that your setters are setting the ball anywhere from 5 to 8 feet off the net, and then setting it to your hitters about 3 to 5 feet off the net. So you never really want to be playing on top of that tape because that's going to make that Citadel block that much bigger, and that, I think, is where the Wildcats can really adjust and start to take some of these points back.
And, of course, Allie Ruffin is as advertised so far in the match, although only credited with 2 kills so far. Essence Bell can't control that serve. First ace of the contest goes the Citadel's way. Bell to DeJesus. Across. Hogan behind her head. Ruffin blocked, but out of bounds. Melita Spencer did a good job getting up to it, but could not direct it back the other way. 21-16, the Citadel rapidly closing in on set number 1.
And because Ruffin is attacking out of the back row right now, it's something different for the blockers to have to deal with. The timing is a little bit different. The angles that Ruffin can take are a little bit different. She's kind of like we were talking about before. The farther off the net you are, the smaller you make the opposing block. And so that's something that the Wildcats need to figure out how to adjust to.
Whistle and a stoppage of play. Point Citadel.
Looks like A.J. Simmons was called in the net on that block attempt.
Coach Williams not happy. Of course, Brittany Williams, now the all-time leader in wins by a volleyball head coach at Bethune-Cookman University. Close but out from the back row attack for BCU. 23-16 now. And
this is kind of what we were talking about. The Citadel took those 3-point runs and started running away with it. It was at one point, I believe, 15-16. So they've taken this, and Mackenzie Martin has really started to run away with this serve and take ownership of this serve.
Almost 500 kills in 3 seasons at Tulane, Mackenzie Martin. DeJesus to the middle for Mecca Freeman to attack. Bell keeps it alive. Once again, Freeman at the pin. Blocked at the net. Somehow the Bulldogs still have it, and it's off the block and into the scorer's table, and set 1 goes to the Citadel. And kind of like the first set in the last game, Taylor, it was close until it wasn't.
Yeah. Those are tough. You know, you start off, or you get off to a hot start and then start to have to understand what the other team is doing. The first few points are really a feeling out process. And so you're going to win some, you're going to lose some. But like we said in the first game, the real way to kind of measure the success or failure of that set is your response to it. So if you can turn around and say, okay, we recognize what we did, that's done, now let's focus on this second set and focus on what's happening now, you can kind of move forward and figure out how to light that fire again, rather than getting sucked into the past and then not being able to focus on the plays that you're making right now.
We'll take 30 seconds and be right back. You're listening to Bethune-Cookman University Volleyball on the Cat-Eye Network.
The Bethune-Cookman Wildcats are on the track with a new hit football coach, Raymond Woody.
We're going to get 1% better every day, okay?
Don't miss a moment of the action with federal play-by-play announcer Mike Terrell.
Here's the bell tie snap, hand off to Robinson on a draw, straight up the middle. Nobody touches Jimmy Robinson as he rumbles into the end zone. Touchdown, Bethune-Cookman.
Here we snap on your official station for Wildcat Sports, WELE 1380 The Cat, on your iPhone streaming at WELE1380thecat.com.
Michael Trillo and Taylor Pritchett back at Moore Gymnasium. It's a 1-0 sets lead for the Citadel Bulldogs over the Bethune-Cookman Wildcats here on Game 2 of Day 1 of the 2023 season. I want to take a look at the upcoming schedule for Bethune-Cookman because they got 3 home games this weekend, and then they're on the road for the better part of a month. They don't come back here until the 22nd of September. They're playing a lot of tough teams. They go to a lot of invitationals. They're playing teams like Appalachian State, Incarnate Word, Florida Atlantic, Georgia Southern. What are playing teams like that before you get into conference play due to a program like Bethune-Cookman?
Well, you start to look at the strategy of it all. Coach Williams and Coach Goodrich have, been talking about for a couple of months how to schedule their preseason so that it best prepares you for the conference season. And every coach is going to have a different philosophy. Some coaches want to play nothing but the best competition that they can all the time. Some coaches want to be better than their competition all the time. Some coaches want to play people that are similar to their conference. I always found that it was best to have a mix of all of them. If you're going out and you're playing the top Power 5s in the country, you're going to figure out how you compare to the best in the world and how you respond when you're playing the best in the world or the best in the country. But then you also turn around and you want to make sure that you're measuring yourself against the types of teams that you're going to see in conference play, and then also measure yourself against the teams that you believe that you should be. You believe that you have a better team, a better system than, and understand what you can do there. And the information that you gather and that you learn from each of those different types of matches starts to inform what you're doing in practice, how you're guiding your team, how you're trying to put together a cohesive idea and a cohesive unit moving forward and then into conference play and hopefully into your conference tournament.
And something I like about this BCU schedule is they're not playing any D2 teams or D3 teams. It's all Division I. It's all they're all conference opponents that should be above them. Like your Sun Belt, you've got Marshall and Appalachian State, SoCon, the Citadel, the American at East Carolina, the Colonial with Campbell. So you're playing all sorts of teams from all different conferences around the East Coast, and they're not traveling too far afield. I remember last year they kind of hit the road a lot, and of course the Hurricanes in the middle of the season didn't help. But this year, staying mostly within driving distance. Biggest road trip is probably North Carolina.
Yeah. And those road trips, they're fun. As a college athlete, you get to kind of turn pro for a weekend. You load everybody up into your van, you go on the road, and all you're doing is homework and volleyball and being with your team. And it's actually a really fun time, but they're also very, very tiring. So to have 3 of those away weekends back to back to back, coming home for that Alabama A&M game on the 22nd of September is going to be a real refresher for them.
Had to be a tame delivery from Spencer as we get set 2 underway. Bell sets for Moore. Back the other way and into the back corner. And the Citadel takes a 1-0 lead. And of course, this year, Bethune-Cookman has far more home games. They have 12 games right here at Moore Gymnasium as opposed to just 4 a season ago. Of course, they scheduled 6, but 2 of those wiped out by the Hurricanes. Service goes long from Mackenzie Martin. I think that's the first step Martin has done wrong in this game.
Yeah, you start to look at how consistently a player plays, and a lot of times that comes down to their unforced errors and limiting those unforced errors. Mackenzie Martin has done a fantastic job of that so far.
Pancake dig to keep it alive. It'll be a free hit for BCU. Mecca Freeman into Elgert. And then the libero can't keep that one in play. 2-1 Citadel. Here's Angelina Sales, who had 68 service aces in her high school career in Phoenix, Arizona. Hogan across, and it's blocked. Ruffin goes for the drop shot this time. From the back row, softly hit by Moore. And then Ruffin powers it. And Essence Bell can't do anything except direct that one into the scorer's table. This is something BCU wants to avoid early on in this second set. What kind of happened in the second set against Marshall, where Marshall ran off 10, 15 points early on, and they got into a position where they couldn't come back, and it is 4-1 after the middle kill from Maddie Cardenas. Haven't talked about Cardenas much. Graduate student from Redondo Beach, California. And a couple of these Citadel athletes, Cardenas and Ruffin specifically, are multi-sport athletes at the Citadel. Both of them are on the track and field team for the Bulldogs. Here's Ruffin again. And Moore can't handle it. The powerful shot low at her feet.
And we're watching a lot of the defenders kind of what we call run away from the ball. So when you saw Jasmine Moore take that play, her first step to the ball was actually backwards and away from the hitter. And what that does is give the ball more time to travel down and closer to the ground and makes it more difficult to play. What she should turn around and do is really start to attack the hitter with that step, so it brings her into the ball's path sooner when it's higher off of the ground and makes it easier for her to get her platform underneath it.
Here's Spencer. Can't close that one out. Hogan across. Just a tame kill that time. Drop shot attempted by Coates. And that time a big swing is out of play. And the Wildcats break a 4-point string for the Bulldogs.
So in college, the libero is allowed to serve. However, they are not allowed to serve in more than one position. So you'll see Niara Hightower stay on the court. The libero has to come off for at least one rotation, but she'll stay off until Hightower is done serving. And that makes sure that they're staying within the rules there. But BCU has to understand that they no longer have that libero on the court. They have a middle who's not used to playing in the back row, playing back there. So they're going to have to shift their defense a little bit to adjust to that.
A miscommunication on the last point by the Citadel as Hightower floats that set into the net. Nobody attacked the initial set. The ball just kind of fell to the ground. We now see Essence Bell back in. Bell, the former FHSAA state champion at Vanguard High School in Ocala. Coates very near the net, but they made it work. A.J. Simmons applies the finishing touch, and it's a 2-point game. Janine DeJesus going to serve now. The only player left on this team from outside the United States, from Patias, Puerto Rico. Taking a little bit of time for the Citadel to get set defensively. Now DeJesus will serve. Hogan. DeJesus recovers the kill. And down the line, nice switch up by Mecca Freeman.
Absolutely. And you saw Essence Bell use her platform there to set that ball instead of her hands. That's how you get around that rule that if the libero sets in front of the 10-foot line, the hitter has to act as a back row attacker. As long as she uses a platform and not a hand set, then the attacker can move as usual.
Bell just ricocheted that one towards the net. Gina Delancey taps it down. 2-point lead for the Citadel here, 7-5. And Allie Ruffin is back to serve. Ruffin, the only member of this Citadel program to get on the all-conference team last season. as she runs into Hogan, trying to recover that pass. And that allows Conover a chance to hit it, but hits it right into the net. So after BCU closed the gap to just 1, it's now 8-5. A little bit of a confusing serve from Ruffin, and it crossed up the entirety of the VCU defense for an ace. That ball looked like it kind of curved in midair, and Janlene DeJesus wasn't ready for it.
Yeah, that's the volleyball version of bend it like Beckham. Sometimes you put so much side spin on that ball that it starts to curl out of the path that you think it's going to take.
DeJesus up for Conover, and through the arms of Delancey into the floor. Wildcats keeping this second set interesting. Although I think they put the point for the wrong team on the scoreboard. I think it should be 8-6. But we shall see. Wildcats keep this one alive. It goes to the net. Bell digs it out. Back set. Conover off the fingertips and still in play. DeJesus to the middle. Drop shot for Simmons. Doesn't find the floor. DeJesus pushes it backwards. Now the live stats do say 10-6, so I guess the scoreboard is correct. My mental math was off. DeJesus high off the set for Moore to attack. Twice into the net, and not third time lucky for Chloe Conover.
And that's Belle Hogan with her offensive IQ. I mean, she understood that that ball was tight, but she needed to push it forward to get around the blocker that was jumping up with her rather than straight across her back.
Solo block for Angelina Sales. And she denies Conover again. And you're kind of seeing Chloe Conover a little bit deer in the headlights at times. This is her first day of competitive collegiate play.
Absolutely, and it's different, you know. You start to deal with the nerves of being in this new environment, this bigger environment, and she had to play a lot. I mean, like we said, Melina Spencer wasn't able to come in during the first match, so Chloe was their only right side, and she really took on that load, but she's handling it really well. She's handling it like a very mature athlete.
It was a net touch violation on the last play to give BCU the point. Bell to serve to her opposite number, Elgert. Dug right back over the net and then jousted successfully by Jasmine Moore.
And this is where BCU is starting to understand that Hogan is a very offensive setter. They know that if she's in the front row and that ball is anywhere near the net, somebody needs to be up with her. Somebody needs to be putting a pair of hands in her face.
Bell has that low, flat serve. Another block for BCU. This time the Bulldogs keep it alive. It comes off the ceiling and down into the front row of seats. And that's one of those where if we're in a building like the Citadel is used to playing in with that really tall ceiling, BCU may have a play at that because that ball went straight up and then hit one of the support beams on the ceiling and took a weird angle the other way. Off the tape of the net and down. That's Jalen Elgert, the senior libero, serving. A couple of Arizona kids on this Citadel team. Elgert is one of them. Elgert originally from Peoria. And that time tried to do the exact same thing and put it a little bit low. And it seems to me if you can find that sweet spot where you're deflecting it off the tape consistently on your serve, it's very hard to defend.
Absolutely. And it's one of the things where you start to play with fire a little bit because you've got to hit that tape, but the ball is only so big. So if you go a little bit too low, you're catching the top of it and you're staying on your own side of the net.
In between the hands of Hightower, 15-9 Citadel. Citadel, just as Bethune-Cookman, is doing a little bit of a tour of the Southeast in their non-conference schedule. Off the block and out. Sales couldn't get her hand to it. They go home to play the College of Charleston after this week. Then they come back to Florida to play the Jacksonville Invitational against Northern Arizona and Florida A&M. Then they go at Queens University in Charlotte. As that serve goes into the net from Moore to play Queens, UNC Asheville, South Carolina State, and Florida A&M again. So they get the Rattlers twice in the span of 2 weeks.
And as we're moving throughout this day, now both the Citadel and BCU have played 2 matches so far in this day. It's a grueling physical event. So you're going to start to see more and more errors that are going in the net as opposed to out of bounds. And that's just a function of them kind of getting tired, not necessarily jumping as high, not being able to take as big of a swing as they're used to. So that's something that BCU really needs to be conscious of, is that they're taking a step and to try to make sure that they are putting the ball into the court rather than playing with fire and playing with those unforced errors in the net.
Nike is the official outfitter of the Bethune-Cookman Wildcats. Gear up on the latest BCU Nike gear at nike.com/Bethune-Cookman Wildcats. And make sure you are representing BCU athletics to the fullest. Buy the latest BCU gear online at the Bethune-Cookman online store. Go to BCUathletics.com and click on Shop to find the newest BCU clothing and apparel. That's BCUathletics.com and click on Shop. On the schedule note, of course, the Citadel plays in the SoCon. So they'll play Western Carolina, Mercer, UNC Greensboro, Wofford, Furman, East Tennessee State, Samford, and Chattanooga in conference.
And fun fact for you, the Southern Conference is actually where Coach Goodrich came from. He was at UNC Greensboro in the Southern Conference. He's played the Citadel. He knows the Citadel. So this is an interesting matchup for him to kind of be able to go back to.
Dave Zelenak, the head coach of the Citadel, has really kind of come in and turned this program around. They had their first winning season ever in 2021. They went 14-12, and they came from being the 5 seed to winning the SoCon Conference Tournament, which was the not only first conference tournament win in the volleyball program's history, but first conference tournament win for any women's sport at the Citadel. The Citadel added women's sports in 1998. That time, Melina Spencer is finally off and running off the block. BCU to 11.
And you watched Melina have to hang a little bit for that. Madison Coates hung that ball up a little bit slow, but Melina Spencer was able to kind of slow that approach down, hang up in the air, and take a good swing off of the hands.
Back set to Ruffin, rejected by Mecca Freeman.
Mecca did a great job seeing Allie Ruffin diving inside the court there. Ruffin actually passed her with her feet, but Mecca got up and dove her hands into that seam and was able to put a great block on the ball.
Another block, but this time couldn't direct it back the other way, did A.J. Simmons.
And A.J. tried to do the exact same thing. Her feet weren't quite there. She tried to dive her hands into the seam. Sometimes that is your only option, but you want to be moving with the feet first. You want to, like in basketball, kind of take a charge from your hitter and put your body directly in front of the angle of their approach.
To the middle. Blocked by Delancey. Cross court it goes. Back row hit from Moore. And it finds the floor. Wildcats on a quick 3-point swing out of the timeout. DeJesus back to serve. Transfer from Eastern Florida State College. And finished 4th in the conference in assists in the 2020 season at East Florida State. This will be a tough set for Hogan. But Allie Ruffin gets it done off the fingertips.
And those are those balls that you want your defenders ready to get up and run to. Jasmine Moore had been used to Ruffin taking those big swings and really putting the ball in fast. She kind of dug in and got ready for that and wasn't ready to run down that ball that came off of the hands.
Essence Bell not ready for that awkward pass. Plays it into the net. And the Citadel is up to 20 points here in set number 2. DeJesus has to across court to Freeman. And then a little bit unfortunate there as it takes a deflection down, 21 for the Citadel.
Those are the tough ones because as a setter, you know when the setter wants to dump, and it looked like Janleen was ready for that ball to come to her. She wasn't quite ready for it to hit the tape and have one of those dribble plays like it does off the serve.
Awkward dig for the newcomer Essence Bell. Drives that one into her own bench. And the Citadel has responded with a 3-point run of their own to push the lead to 22-13. Soft serve, played back to the middle. DeJesus has to race over it, grab it, still somehow sets it up for Conover. Bell keeps it alive. DeJesus back to Conover, off the fingertips. Citadel continues to play. Ruffin for the back row, and it's blocked. A.J. Simmons this time connects the hands. Here's Sydney Poston, the freshman. First time she's been at the service line in the game. Drives it cross corner. Hogan has to come a long way to get that set, and it set up an awkward kill attempt that was blocked by Conover. And unfortunately, the Wildcats and A.J. Simmons lose out on that joust. Well, my favorite part of the interview I had with Coach Williams before today was she described Sydney Poston as someone who would run through a wall for you. And she kind of has that demeanor about her.
Absolutely. You've seen her going into the stands a couple of times, into the bench a couple of times. Those are the players that are usually the best on defense because they will sacrifice their body like she did there to make sure that that ball gets off of the floor.
Set point for the Citadel, 24-15, and Mackenzie Martin is serving. Off the block and down. And the Citadel takes set number 2. Allie Ruffin came to play in that set after only having 2 total kills in set number 1. She's up to 11 for the game. That means 9 in set number 2. A couple of statistics to keep an eye out for you. 30 kills to 14 in favor of the Citadel. Total attacks 72-64 in favor of the Bulldogs. The Bulldogs hitting .264. The Wildcats just .94. Mel Hogan is topping the charts in assists for the Bulldogs. They have 28 total, and Hogan has 21 of those 28. 7 aces for the Bulldogs. Bethune-Cookman has just 1. But the blocking totals favor Bethune-Cookman 5-4, especially solo blocks. They lead that category 3-1, and I think all 3 of those were Nyara Hightower. She has showed up today and played very well in the absence of Kaytal Price.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the block for, the Wildcats has been doing a great job. They're getting in the hitter's face. They're making their life more difficult. And that's kind of the whole job of the block, is that you see the set, you know the hitter, and then you go and block the dang ball. That's something that we kind of preach to our athletes. But they're going out, they're making themselves a very big presence. The biggest struggle there is that, kind of on the other hand, you had mentioned that the Citadel has 7 aces to 1 for the Wildcats. That's showing that their serve and pass game just isn't really matching up in the way that it needs to. If you've gotten ace 7 times, you can expect that the ones that are staying in play are not necessarily perfect passes. It's rarely feast or famine like that. So you can understand that the first contact of the Wildcats is something that they really want to make sure they're shoring up. And same on the other side of the ball. If they've only aced the Citadel once, they can expect that the balls that are staying in play are probably going pretty well for them. So you want to really attack them from the service line and then make sure that you're shoring up your own pass, your own first contact, so that it makes their life more difficult and it makes yours easier. I guess that's kind of the point of the game.
We expect Bethune-Cookman to be very strong at the net, the best blocking team in the SWAC last year by quite a margin. 2.3 blocks per set led the SWAC. They led the SWAC in total blocks as well. But offensively, the wheels have yet to really start turning for the Wildcats. They keep going to the outside hitters, and the Citadel has defensively adjusted and now know what to expect.
Exactly, and that's a function of that first contact. If you think about a bad pass, right, if something goes really far off the net or really far to one side of the court rather than kind of centered where you want it to be, then it makes your option really predictable. If the setter has to sprint 30 feet forward and they're standing right underneath the left pin, they're probably going to set it to their outside hitter. And that's what the Citadel blockers know. They get to go and set up early and make sure that they put a nice strong block in front of that hitter. The defense gets to go where they want to early. But if you have those good passes, if you start putting that ball 5 to 8 feet off the net, right about the center of the court, just right of the center of the court, the setter has the option to set her outside, to set her middle, to set her right side. And that unpredictability means that the Citadel has to wait longer to figure out where they're going to go. That is how you start to what we call play above the speed of the game. You want to make sure that you're looking at the game and you're reading what's happening. So if I already know that the ball is going to go to the outside, then I can go ahead and start getting to that place, and that makes my life that much easier.
We'll take 30 seconds and be right back. This is Bethune-Cookman Volleyball on the Cat-Eye Network.
It's a celebration.
Michael Torello, Taylor Pritchett back here at Moore Gymnasium as we start the third set of our second match of the game. Bethune-Cookman trying to make sure that it is not their final set they play on this opening day of the season. Lost 3-0 to Marshall early on in the day, and they'll get another chance at the Thundering Herd tomorrow at noon. You can catch that game live with Taylor and I here on the Cat-Eye Network. And then you won't hear from us again until the 22nd of next month when the first SWAC pool comes to town, and that's the big improvement over the schedule from our perspective this year is we get 2 home SWAC pools instead of 0 last year.
Exactly. Now those SWAC pools are a heck of a day, and this is something that these preseason tournaments really help to prepare the Wildcats for. They're going to have to play 2 or possibly even 3 matches in a single day for their SWAC cluster play. And so this is a great opportunity for them to start to put together the understanding of how they play through an extremely long day. And it's a mental hurdle that they're going to have to address right now. You know, they're going into their 6th set of the day. Everybody's exhausted. They know that if they win this one, they're going to have to play another one and hopefully 2 more. So can you get over that mental hurdle of, man, I'm tired, but I really want to win this match, so let me go and push through a little bit more tired.
I just glanced at the BCU schedule. I don't think they ever play 3 in a day. The most they get is 2.
Perfect. Well, even better then, but this is still a fantastic way for them to kind of prepare and get ready to push through those long, marathon sessions.
Another ace for Angelina Sales. An 8th of the match for the Citadel, and it's already 2-0 here in this third set. Recovered by Bell. Coates sets it. The dig goes all the way back over the net for Moore to attack. Hogan sets it up. Blocked at the net by King. Another chance for the Bulldogs. $3-0 for the Citadel. This time, Sales takes a little bit off the serve and a little bit off the power from the block. Gets Bethune-Cookman on the board in set number 3. And sometimes the block can actually be the defense's worst enemy if it takes a little bit of a deflection that the back row wasn't expecting.
Exactly.
Moore, powerful serve. Hogan to Ruffin, drops it to the middle of the floor where nobody in black and gold is.
And that's where you start looking at your off blockers. So you've got 2 blockers that go up, and the third front row player is your off block. They are usually going to be the ones that are responsible for those tips, but they have to make that move as soon as they see the set going out to that right side hitter. They've got to make their defensive shift.
Tip to the middle by King, and straight back down the middle by her opposite number, Gina Delancey. I was about to say Delancey's been a little bit quiet tonight. She is 3rd in the game in kills with 5. Delancey, the best blocker on this Citadel team. She got one there, but the Wildcats keep it alive. And Madison Coates can't handle the kill. 6-1 Citadel. Madison Coates, the redshirt sophomore from Oviedo. As that's the second service error for the Citadel in the game, and of course the second for Mia Watson, and both have been exactly like that, straight into the net. But back on Madison Coates in her redshirt sophomore year, you kind of expect her to take that next step this season. Mm-hmm. She was a primary setter last season, but this year, you kind of expect more out of somebody that's been in the program now for 3 seasons.
Right. And I mean, so last year was interesting. The Wildcats ran a 5-1 for a while, which is what the Citadel is doing now. They've got their one setter, Belle Hogan, who plays all the way around. And the Wildcats did that last year with Alicia Callender most often. But Madison Coates would come in as a defensive specialist for their right side. This year, she's really stepping into that setter role and really kind of becoming a floor general for them.
And especially with Callender hurt to start the season, not playing today. We'll see if she recovers in time for tomorrow. Basically, it's Madison Coates' job up until somebody else comes and takes it away from her. BCU back on the board. Melina Spencer has come in this second game and really impressed me at that outside hitter position.
And Melina, I believe last year was their top player in hitting percentage, or maybe one of their top scorers. I don't remember the statistic, but
Katel barely chipped her in hitting percentage.
Gotcha, yeah. So, you know, Melina Spencer was really a glue for them last year, and it's great to see her in this match.
And the Citadel is now going mostly for those soft shots that dip in front of the back row, and it's something that Bethune-Cookman had success with early on in the match against Marshall. And Bethune-Cookman will take a timeout, down 9-3 in this crucial sets number 3. Stay up to date with everything Bethune-Cookman Athletics by checking out the Wildcats on social media. Give BCU Athletics a like on Facebook and follow the Wildcats on Twitter and Instagram at BCU_athletics. For the latest on BCU Volleyball, follow at BCU Volleyball on Twitter and Instagram. This is a huge confidence-boosting kind of day for the Citadel, a team that was picked to finish almost towards the bottom of their conference, 6 out of 9. You come in and get a 2-0 start to your season, big confidence booster going to the rest of non-conference play.
Absolutely, and the Citadel is someone that has kind of been slept on a little bit in their conference. You know, they, like you said, they were the 5th seed in one of their conference tournaments and ended up winning the whole thing. So they have been sneaky good for a while, especially since Coach Dave Zelenak has come in and started to really turn them around. And I think they're starting to garner some more respect from their conference with their play. But it's pretty cool to see them continue to grow.
Zelenak now in his 6th season at the Citadel after stops at Central Michigan, Northwood, Delaware State, and from 2013 to 2017 was the head coach at Tennessee Tech. And Dave Zelenak has been the head coach for all 5 of the Citadel Volleyball's conference tournament wins in program history. Of course, 3 of those coming in 2021 when they went all the way and won. DeJesus across. Off the tape, Conover. From the back row, pushed right into the hands of Hightower. Mackenzie Martin tried to be a little cute, too cute with it there.
Yep, absolutely. You start to see, it looked like there was a little bit of a miscommunication between her and Allie Ruffin. She tried to just shot put that ball over, but if you're going to do that, you want to put it high enough that you're not going directly into the hands of the middle blocker that's right there for you.
Floated down on the second service ace of the game for Bethune-Cookman. Nice little confidence booster there for Sydney Poston, who has kind of been picked on a little bit defensively in these first 2 games and has done most of her damage from the service line. This time Ruffin controls it straight up into the air. And that time, again, trying to just be a little bit too cute with it, was Sales and tips it right into the net.
Looked like that ball may have caught a little part of the ceiling too. That has to be an incredible trip to already be in the air and then try to adjust to something that's moving.
Third serve in a row for Poston. Cross it goes to Sales. Into the ceiling. Bell has to get this one over. Ruffin, Hogan, and Delancey lances that one into the far corner, 10-6.
And it looked like DeJesus had a little bit of a hesitation trying to figure out if she thought the ball was in or out. She started to make that play and then kind of pulled her platform away from it. That indecision is usually where you're going to end up getting hurt on those type of plays. You want to make a decision and stick to it, commit to it.
DeJesus cross court, a little bit of an awkward setup. Citadel. And we're not sure who got that point, as the up official is going to communicate with one of the side judges. What did you see there?
Well, it looked like it went out of bounds. I believe the Citadel is arguing that it touched the block. However, one of the line judges, the one that is quote unquote out of the play, was making the signal for a ball that had contacted the antenna. So I think that was a little bit of the confusion there. It looks like they ultimately decided that it was out.
Hightower to serve for Bethune-Cookman. Touch to the middle and down from Maddie Cardenas. Cardenas, of course, graduate student from California. All 4 college seasons at the Citadel. Over 600 kills in those 4 seasons. Cardenas also throws javelin and shot put on the track team. Power shot from Moore, kept alive for the back row. Bell responds in kind for Bethune-Cookman. Moore waits, now taps it over softly. Elgert sets it up for the big swing from Allie Ruffin. That's the first time in this third set we've really seen Ruffin kind of get that perfect pass to really unleash.
Absolutely.
Hogan serving. DeJesus. Nice dig by Martin, keeping it alive. And cross court out of play from Sales. Coach Zelnock not happy with that one, comes immediately in to talk to his freshman, who has been very good today, both games that the Citadel have played. That time just a little bit too aggressive. Hogan back to Ruffin and blocked by Spencer.
And Melina Spencer did a fantastic job of seeing her hitter coming into the court and staying in with her. If she had kind of, just gone through the motions and stuck to her default, Allie Ruffin would have gone past her, but she cut her route short, stayed inside with her hitter, and was able to put up a fantastic block.
Hogan from the back row. Bit of an awkward block, and that'll give the point to the Citadel. And I mentioned it earlier, how the block can also sometimes be the defense's worst enemy if you kind of get that one-armed block that just spins away from everybody.
Right.
Off the tape, a diving stop by De Jesus to keep it alive. Back over the net off the dig. Coates, cross to Moore, too far. And they're going to give the point to Bethune-Cookman. They say it touched someone on the way through. I certainly didn't see it, but of course we're all the way up here in the corner, and the officials are right there in the play.
And we were mentioning this earlier, but once they get into SWAC play, they're actually going to have a video replay available for all of their matches. So if something like that were to happen, if the up ref maybe missed that touch and Bethune-Cookman thought that there was a touch, they're able to challenge the play and ask them to go and review the video. But that's not something that they're implementing for their preseason matches.
Wildcats within 2. Coach Dave Zelnock wants a timeout, and I was talking to Coach Dave before the game, just kind of running through some of the player names and who to watch out for, and he said something interesting that the SoCon is actually not doing replays at all. Even if you have the technology, they're not allowing it in conference play, and he was complaining like the buildings are already wired for it because they use it in basketball, but they're not allowed to use it in volleyball. They can use it in non-conference play, but once they get into SoCon play, they can't use the replay, and that kind of just sounded a little bit backwards to me.
Yeah, that's interesting because I know that the NCAA is moving towards eventually making it mandatory for all NCAA institutions. So that's why you're seeing a lot of conferences say that it's a requirement for their conference play. They're preparing for when the NCAA makes it a national mandate. But if the Southern Conference has decided that it's not the time to use it, then at some point you got to listen to the word from on high and go with what you got.
We see that a lot in baseball, especially in the SWAC, where there are some fields like Jackie Robinson downtown here are set up to do replays. Some facilities are not. Of course, the SWAC is mandating it this year for facilities that have the equipment or can get the equipment. Defended by Martin that time off the serve. A spiraling dig. Coates keeps it alive. This will be a free hit for the Citadel, and Alyssa King puts it right back in their faces.
And you're watching these blockers, they're getting their blocks, but it's because they are diving into the area that the opposing hitter wants to take. So ideally you want to see them move their feet and take that charge there, but if you can't get your feet there, diving into that seam is the best option that you have.
That ball was out on the big kill attempt from Sales, so it's another Wildcat point. Tie game at 13. Moore over the net. Ruffin has to play this over tamely. Coates sets to the middle. King can't finish it off. Martin, whistle and a stoppage of play. Net touch violation for Bethune-Cookman. Point to the Citadel. Oh, and Essence Bell is down with an injury and in some obvious discomfort.
It looks like she had tripped over one of the front row players as she was coming up.
And for a team that is already struggling with some injuries with two of their bigger players out to start the season, now your big transfer goes out early in the season. We've seen the men's basketball team here at BCU struggle with some injuries over the last couple of years, and the volleyball team really needs those high-end players to step up. This is going to be a big loss.
Absolutely. Luckily, it looks like it might be an ankle, which if you're talking about a lower extremity injury, you would always prefer it be an ankle over a knee. Now, it doesn't mean that, it's any good, and it doesn't mean that she's going to be able to recover quickly, but hopefully it should be something that she can recover from well and then be able to move forward from here.
Bella, of course, a graduate student as well. This is her last season of availability at the college level. We'll take a quick timeout and be right back. This is Bethune-Cookman Volleyball on the Cat Eye Network.
The Bethune-Cookman Wildcats get on the track with a new head football coach, Brady Woody.
We'll get 1% better every day, okay?
Don't miss a moment of the action with federal play-by-play announcer Mike Terrell.
Here's the bell tie High snap, hand off to Robinson on a draw, straight up the middle. Nobody touches Jimmy Robinson as he rumbles into the end zone. Touchdown, Bethune-Cookman.
Here for snap on your official station for Wildcat Sports, WELA 1380 The Cat. On your iPhone streaming at WELA1380thecat.com.
So you're going to actually see Riley Davis come back onto the court in her libero jersey. Essence Bell, because she's a libero, is not able to return to the floor. Usually you would have to wait until in between sets to switch liberos, but you'll actually, because there was an injury, there's going to be a rule exception, and Riley Davis will come back in as the libero now.
That's why we have a little bit more of an extended break so Davis can switch to that jersey. Davis now in a big spot as a freshman from San Antonio, Texas, stepping into that libero spot after the injury to Essence Bell. Of course, we hope for a speedy recovery for Essence and hope she gets back on the court soon.
And this is where you start to see, how the team can rally around losing such a big component of their defense and their first contact. Riley Davis, from what, everything that Coach Williams and Coach Goodridge have said, has really stepped into this defensive role. So hopefully the team can kind of rally around her and rally around Essence as she comes back and make sure that they push through to the end of this set and then to the end of the match.
It's been tough sledding today for Mia Watson. That was her third service error.
And that's where you start getting into, if you're really trying to go for that net clipper, the one that'll hit the tape and dribble over, you'll end up playing with fire a little bit and taking some that are just misses into the net.
First contact for Davis as the libero. Wild save from Elgert to keep it alive for the Citadel. Davis saves it again. It's still alive. It's going to have to be a backcourt hit from Moore. Hogan tipped over and down by Delancey.
And you're watching the middles for both teams run away from the setter often. They're running into the 3 gap, so they're going about 6 to 8 feet away from the setter, close to the outside hitter. What that does is that overloads one side of the court and isolates the other side of it. So you've got 2 hitters in about 10 feet on the left side of the court and 1 hitter all the way across on the right side. That forces the opposing middle blocker to make a choice. Are they going to stay neutral and possibly get beat by the other middle that's in that 3 gap? Or are they going to go with them but make it more difficult to get to that isolated hitter on the other side?
That last point, Citadel was out of system, but Allie Ruffin improvised and found the middle of the floor where nobody was. This will be a free play for the Citadel after Spencer plays it over. Soft into the middle again. This time the Wildcats are ready for it. Coates. Hogan set up by Elgert. And from the back row, Allie Ruffin spins that one down. So after the injury timeout, 3 straight points for the Citadel. It was a 1-point game before that. Ruffin testing Davis. Hogan. Ruffin. I think Nyara Hightower will be credited for the block there, but I think that came more off the net than her hands.
Yeah, I believe so as well. That was a little bit in the tape, but, you'll take it.
If you make contact, it goes on the score sheet as a block, and if that's the main thing you're looking for on the stats, well, you will take it. ECU once again down to 17-15. Hogan, rejected but out of bounds by Chloe Conover. But good to see Conover attacking that.
Mm-hmm. And she's actually moved over to the left side now rather than the right side. Coach Williams has switched her from the opposite hitter position over to the right, or over to the left. So she's going to have to make a little bit of a mental switch and get ready to hit from this side of the court.
That time Conover hit it off of the blocking Hogan and out of bounds. Wildcats remain interested, 18-16. And I think the Wildcats, if they can come back and at least force overtime in this set, as unfortunately that one from Poston floats into the tape, I think they can be pretty happy about how they performed in this third set, especially with a backup libero.
Absolutely. And this is a major difference from this game or from the Marshall game to this game, is that in the Marshall game you could see that the team got a little bit deflated. They weren't quite the same, didn't have quite the same animation that they did the first time around, or in that first set. This time, even though the outcome is not necessarily going the way that they want it, they're playing much better. They're playing much more engaged. They've got far fewer unforced errors. The Citadel is just also playing very good volleyball.
That'll be a Citadel point as it was touched on its way out of bounds, but I'm going to heap some praise on Jalen Elgert on that last point, the libero for the Citadel. Twice in that set, she made a diving stop to maintain the play and keep the Bulldogs in the point as they take a 4-point lead, 20-16. Bit of an awkward play there for Bethune-Cookman. When Moore can only push it into the net, 21-16 as the Citadel see the finish line now.
And that's where we start to talk about bettering the ball. That first contact wasn't great. It pushed Janlene DeJesus all the way over to the far side of the court. It was a little bit tight, but then Janlene tried to make it a perfect set from there. What you want to do is take bad and turn it into good, good and turn it into great, rather than taking something that's bad and trying to be perfect with it, and that's what happened there.
Nyara Hightower with another attack. And she immediately goes back to serve. 21-17 here in set number 3. Hightower floats this one to the middle. Hogan pushes it back across. And Angelina Sales continues to be the bane of the Wildcats' existence in this match. Another kill for her. Is Belle Hogan. Back to serve. The Wildcats stay in it with another powerful hit from the middle. Alyssa King with another point going her way. Belle Hogan, a junior now, but was on the 2021 SoCon All-Freshman team. That was the year that they won the conference tournament. Ruffin. Diving for it was Hogan. Ruffin somehow gets it over. And another diving stop by Elgert. Ruffin on the other side.
And that save from Ruffin was pretty incredible. You've got to send the ball over in between the antennas, and that angle got super sharp, so she painted it into the only space that she could.
And then to recover and eventually pick up the kill on the back end as well.
Exactly.
2 points from the end of the game for the Citadel, off the tape and down. That's really what you're looking for. If you want to go tape and down, you want to hit it with power so it has the velocity to spin over the net.
Exactly, and you'll start to see some home court advantage there as well. Depending on how tight the top of the net is, you may be able to get a more favorable fall than if it's looser, you get a little bit more favorable fall than if it's tighter.
Match point for the Citadel. And Sales wanted it all right there. Came up a little bit short, so the Wildcats will go back to serve. Credit to this Bethune-Cookman team. They have been in every set. They have not gone away, as in the first match. The second 2 sets, Marshall just kind of dominated. All 3 sets today have been close.
They really have taken steps forward from that mental hurdle that we were discussing at the beginning. You know, if this team had played against Marshall in the first match of the day, you start to wonder if maybe they would have come out of it with a win, at least a set win. But they can definitely be proud and have the moral victory that they're taking steps forward, and as they move into that Marshall match tomorrow, hopefully they end up getting that one back.
Chloe Conover credited with the kill that time as it rolled on the tape and fell down onto the Citadel side. Bit of a stoppage to dry the court, just like in basketball. You don't want any moisture on the court, especially when players are sliding left to right. And doing acrobatics to keep balls in play.
Yes, I've definitely seen some injuries come from slippery floors. So as much as, you know, sometimes players will talk a little bit and say that it's just to stall the game, it's definitely a safety thing.
Coates to Conover down the line, and the Wildcats have rattled off 3 in a row, 24-21 with the game on the line. Timeout Citadel. And the game continues. Come be a part of BCU Athletics and support the Cat Eye Network. If you or your business is interested in partnering with us here on the Cat Eye Network, you can reach out to Wildcats Athletic Communications at bcusportsinfo@cookman.edu. That's bcusportsinfo@cookman.edu. And you mentioned taking the momentum from this late game surge into tomorrow's match against Marshall. That game will be at noon Eastern time. You can catch that one here on the Cat Eye Network as the opening weekend of Wildcat Athletics continues on. And then, of course, next weekend is the big one. The 100th season of Wildcat football opens up as the Wildcats travel to Memphis. And you can catch that game on 1380 WELE locally or at 1380WELEthecat.com. Well, Taylor, it's been a long day of volleyball, 3 games. And it comes down to this with the Citadel having match point. It almost feels like we're in one of those SWAC clusters. A lot of us have been here since 9 a.m.
Absolutely. It's a long day, and it's something that, you know, you kind of go back to. Do you have the mental fortitude and the physical strength and the conditioning to make it through this kind of a marathon?
This will be the 4th straight serve for Jasmine Moore. Another diving stop by Elgert, and this time the finishing touch is applied by Mackenzie Martin, and the Citadel goes undefeated at the 2023 Bash at the Beach. I'm going to say right now, my MVP of the game is Jalen Elgert, the libero for the Citadel. Didn't really get on the scoreboard all that much, but the defensive play was spectacular, especially in that 3rd set.
Absolutely, and you come back to that first contact. If you can really control the first contact, you put your setter in a good position to have all of her options. She can be very unpredictable, and that makes your hitters that much better. So even though she's not directly scoring points, she is absolutely affecting the outcome of the match and helping